Yeah, we didn't necessarily show it on our co-stream, but the official LPL broadcast did have a graphic regarding the Olaf, how it is picked up a lot of wins. I think it actually has 100% win rate so far through the top lane between players like Hoya, the Shy, Birdall, Zika, Keshi, and Flandre, who have both picked up a win respectively. So now the priority for the Olaf shooting through the roof. What will AL respond with?
Olaf is 14-9 right now, and we have seen him basically just skyrocket in priority as an answer to a lot of the range top laners. And now with no Jarvan in the game, it's really tough to answer. I think as AL, you have to kind of ask, like, do we want to play Trundle in this game? Do we want to play a Nivea in this game? There's no Ryze to play against. It's a real question you have to ask yourself, and this is technically a blind. Both jungle and top lane can take this champion, although we have seen it predominantly be shifted over into top side. And now you just see that there's a Cassante, like it's a fairly free lane.
Yeah, I must have misinterpreted the graphic. I saw 100% and I assumed that was the win rate, but it must have been something specific, because
61%. They just picked like the best players on the pick, or the people who have the most wins right now. There's 23 games, 61% win rate, which is pretty nuts.
There you go. Well, one of the things I was going to point out is that just last night, when WE upset Top Esports, one of the Olaf counters was that Trundle top lane picked up by Cube. Meanwhile, other players around the world have resorted to things like Kled, but we already know that Breathe has settled on Cassante, which I'm not too sure if I'm a fan of. And now with ThunderTalk locking in the Trundle for themselves, they can subjugate and sap all of those tank stats away from Breathe.
Ooh, this is really nasty. We're getting a Kiana jungle, which can take advantage, but I think ThunderTalk are very, very tanky already. Jarvan plus Olaf, Trundle plus Olaf. Trundle's also going to be able to sap stats away from Breathe.
Right.
So if he tries to go for like the Aftershock tech we've been seeing, where you take Aftershock and then pop your ultimate and you get basically free Adaptive Force, that's another way that you can make Cassante go boom very, very quickly. We'll get into the second phase of draft, and I think Sivir needs to be at the top of the priority list in terms of bans. It's been one of On's best champions. We're going to take that away. Varus is already gone. I think we start to look at things like Jhin and potentially Caitlyn coming through.
Both of these bruisers from the side of ThunderTalk just want to run you down and go forward, so any kind of bot lane setup that either could empower you to go faster, which is why the Sivir ban comes up, or like you mentioned with a Jhin, could aid from a screen away. Hell, this would not be a bad mage bot angle if On wanted to look for it, as even though there's no Ziggs in the pool, Xerath still could make an appearance if the matchup is fine for it. ThunderTalk banning away both the Akali and one ban yet to remain.
They just don't know what they want to get rid of, because they're kind of thinking about mid matchups right now. To me, an Akali ban almost screams like we want to go Annie, or we want to maybe go for a slower control mage. I think a champion like Syndra starts to get really fun because you can flex her, considering TT will have their ability to pick afterwards. So there it is. We're going to see Syndra taken away. I think Mel is kind of the last mage if we're not picking Xerath. And I think right now AL do need a lot more damage and a lot more setup for them, because they decided to go for Karma.
Well, Annie's going to give you one way to set things up and guarantee a target to be locked down for Tarzan to pounce on. But the real question is, what is Hope going to play now in the face of two bruisers that can try and run you down? And you called out a potential Jhin pairing with this composition for ThunderTalk, and that's what On is going to settle on.
We're going to get potentially Ahri in mid. I think TT are just more explosive. They have better access to tools. I think even if they're behind in gold, their composition can still function. AL, this last pick for me kind of has to tie the room together. You need an AD carry that's both going to be safe by herself and also be able to apply pressure to some of these tanks. I think Caitlyn's fine, but Bard can be a real X factor in this game. The fact that he can just throw out an ultimate and lock down an Annie or lock down a Caitlyn is really, really dangerous. And then Olaf is, I think, extremely OP in this draft. He has very little threat under him. You have to burst out Olaf, and Qiyana has some of that, but her cooldowns are really, really, I would say long, but they're long enough that Olaf is going to be able to abuse her.
Yeah, I'm not really thrilled about this Cassante pick that early on into the draft, because ThunderTalk are able to get that Trundle locked up immediately. So now the one tank that AL drafted for themselves more than likely is going to become a paperweight in between these fights when the subjugate goes off. So I feel like AL are really banking on another snowball through jungle, trying to facilitate this Qiyana to get ahead of the curve and try and blow up a lot of these squishier targets from the bottom side of the map before ThunderTalk Gaming get this team fighting composition online.
They have so many more tools. I just love Jhin, specifically in this kind of game. Yes, he is going to be under threat, but he can go even in this lane. And if Olaf Trundle are, you know, running all the way past AL's front line, well, guess what? Jhin can just throw down the ultimate. He can use his Deadly Flourish.
Yeah.
And even if he dies, and Qiyana's like, oh, cool, that's a free 300 gold, she has to turn around and look at Olaf Trundle. I don't want to play against that.
Yeah. We're going to see how it all pans out here. Final game of the series between Anyone's Legend and ThunderTalk. Let's hit Summoner's Rift.
Let's see it. This is a very important game. Obviously, AL already locked for playoffs, but TT at 4 wins would be really nice to sit at. It gives you a comfortable enough barrier that even if EDG win their series tomorrow, that they have a lot of room to work with. I am just surprised that Hope is taking this much damage from a D-Helm Jhin, but that's a 4th shot for you.
Doesn't matter if he doesn't have the extra stats. That 4th shot will still hit. I know we kind of shied away from talking about Hope on the Caitlyn here. It's just, does Keshi solo kill him? Not quite, but that ghost definitely got me a little nervous there. It's going to establish a lot of lane pressure. Is there a dive that could they set up after Junhao takes these Raptors? Could he just beeline to the top side?
I think it's really bad. Like, you're already playing into Qiyana, and they have vision of her blue buff, so they know that she has to be on the top side of the map. If Keshi had actually... I think what Keshi, in my opinion, needed to do was crash that last wave and then let it bounce. Now what's going to happen is this wave is going to stack. Breathy's going to be able to pick up all of the CS underneath the turret, and if he wants to, he can recall, use the home guards, come back to lane, and it's like nothing ever really happened in this matchup, aside from the fact that Keshi lost a summoner spell.
Junhao skipped majority of his bot lane camps here. Thought he was going to look for a quick gank angle onto Hope and Kael when they were pushed up on the Jhin and Bard, but decides against it. Places a ward down in the Pixel Brush. He doesn't want to fall behind the curve now that Tarzan was able to return to his blue quadrant after doing what we see normally on a lot of Lee Sin clears. Red side full clear base, get a long sword, but I guess Tarzan has done enough labbing with the practice tool to find out that you could do something similar with Qiyana, and look at that. Fast enough that he's going to be able to hit this crab in time.
It's really expensive now, though, for Junhao. The fact that he decided to hover around his bottom lane and not go to his camps, with TT not able to materialize anything from that look. Now Tarzan has already finished his clear. He gets to do the top side scuttle. He gets ready for his Raptors that are going to be respawning in about like 10 to 15 seconds. And he's perfectly situated. He's going to get faster and faster at his clear. It's not like Trundle is particularly slow, but he's kind of a... Trundle's a really weird jungler to me, because he's just this champion that has basically one spell to actually deal damage to camps.
Yep.
And it's not like Tiamat is very, like, OP nowadays, and he's also not a champion that uses Bomby Cinders particularly well, so... Feather.
It's okay. It's okay. Happens. It's not the end of the game, but that was kind of tragic. Yeah. Hope no ghost. We can keep track of that Summoner spell in the chat. But Hope will still have Flash, and Kael still has both his own Flash as well as Summoner Heal in case Hope needs a quick speed boost. But you're right, though, Alk. Trundle items is normally just a Trinity Force Rush these days. Sometimes we see our experimental Hex Plate, which I'm always a big fan of. Get more ult cooldowns off for the Subjugate. But yeah, it's very hard to just clear your AoE camps compared to something like a Qiyana. So Junhao has to pick his timers well and be efficient with them, because if he ever spends too long looking for a gank that doesn't actually happen, Qiyana is just going to blaze in terms of tempo against him instead. And Shanks gets a visit from Feather from Bard, but a quick clutch shield from Kael, knowing that his karma was right behind him, allows Shanks the grace to not have to force his flash.
Now, does Heru hit level 6 on this wave? Because what Heru could do is finish off this wave, get level 6, recall, and then walk for Dragon. Shanks will get 6 once he gets back to the minion wave, but that doesn't even seem like the case. They're actually just moving now for this play. I'm a little hesitant about this. It is going to be TT first to this, but Heru has rotations for maybe one set of spells, and then that's it.
Junhao does this dragon quite healthily on the Trundle. Feather just trying to bait out Tarzan. Oh my gosh, he's
Tarzan!
Invisible! Junhao, though, secures the dragon. Tarzan was trying to get cute with the grass invisibility. However, it's Hope on Caitlyn that picks up first blood.
Yeah, very, very hasty. It's still the dragon going over, but that kill going to Caitlyn feels good. Heru just, I think, skipping a beat. He needed to find a recall afterwards, and all of TT needed to respect the fact that their mid laner did not have conditions for that. As well played as that was there for AL, it is now going to be really big for them. It gets Shanks that wave that he missed out because of the play, and now they get another scuttle. We were kind of talking about that if we spend a little too much time as Junhao. Yes, there's catch-up XP on the camps, but getting level 6 on Qiyana is really, really disgusting, and he's one camp away from getting it. They might even just go for a dive, and he's already here.
On and Feather forced to help out the jungler, stop this Grom from being stolen. Junhao secures it, and now Tarzan's going to have to make his way out. Pillar, little tricky for Kael to walk away from. Pops the Summoner Heal for the extra movement speed boost. And ThunderTalk at least protect their jungle.
It's so tough in that corridor. He throws down the W from the Trundle, and then when he throws his Pillar, I think it's actually almost invisible to see the Caitlyn trap. So he has to walk all the way around the Caitlyn trap and his Pillar and does nothing. So Tarzan doesn't steal the camp. He still is going to get his ultimate after finishing this red buff and Krugs. And now we're in a game state where Grubs are going to spawn in a minute. My mid laner has no flash. And we have a ton of accessibility thanks to the mobility of our champs. And once we get this recall from the bottom lane. So AL are just playing a much cleaner early game. And I already feel some of that, like, rushed nature from TT that need to like try to make something happen.
And I think most importantly, after the performances that we saw out of Hope in the past 2 games, yes, we put the 6 fries in the bag. He was able to contribute. What are we looking at?
Why is the Observer? We're looking at the trap that's behind the turret. Why does the Observer care about that?
I guess he was just curious if On was going to step on top of that. Just making.
Do they know he's going to step on it now? Oh, he's trapped. Oh, he's trapped. If he steps on this one. Oh my. Oh. Okay, I think it despawned.
Okay. The fact that Hope is currently in a 10 CS lead and maintaining a lot of pressure alongside Kael to push On and Feather onto the turret consistently is a good sign for AL to at least get a snowball rolling and get this early advantage lead, because we talked about how ThunderTalk, later the game goes on, if things are even, composition-wise, they have tools to be able to deal with what AL have. Now, Subjugate on to Tarzan, tries to throw down the Tibbers on top to try and stun up this Trundle, but he's quite tanky, flashes away from the supreme display of talent. Feather caught up in the crossfire, though, and Shanks will find his first kill of the game.
We just don't have the damage. Karma is mitigating all of it. Junhao uses the ult onto Tarzan, but he's either invisible or out of range, and it doesn't matter that you subjugated him. Ahri's damage is non-existent here. It is a Merc Tread boot and an Amplifying Tome. It's not much better there for Shanks, but at least Shanks has more consistent AoE CC. 3 grubs going over to AL, a 2,500 gold lead. It's going to feel really nice at the start of this 9-minute game.
Snowball coming together quite nicely for the Pandas here, and despite all of the doubts that we had about this composition and how hard it was going to be to pilot, so far they are living up to the mantle. And one of the things that's going to actually be difficult for ThunderTalk, regardless of the ways that they can deal with what AL have drafted, who is going to be a Serpent's Fang carrier on this team? Real talk.
If we are willing to drop ego, it would be Heru. I know that's going to be controversial, but he is the person that would apply it the best. He has the easiest time applying Serpent's Fang, and I can feel it already because this happens every single time when I bring this up. Serpent's Fang's application of the Shield Reeve is based on damage done. When you deal damage, it applies the debuff. It does not matter if it is physical damage, it does not matter if it is ability damage, and yes, the stats are awful for Ahri, but if you're just trying to apply it, it's gonna have to be him. Otherwise, On's gonna have to build it, and we already are seeing the build of a Youmuu's Ghostblade. So, you gotta pick our poison here, people.
Yeah,
I know. You could now you could be now I would also be okay if Keshi built it, but that means that Keshi needs to land every single axe.
Yeah. The big problem is that Serpent's Fang, while it's an item that I love, it is a 2,500 gold sink just to get that passive going. And so whoever has to build it this game is not going to be a big fan because they would rather have other items built. Like Keshi wants his Strikebreaker, he wants his Hexplate, or he wants his Sundered Sky. Heru also does not want to have to build an item that builds out of lethality and physical damage as an Ahri.
Agreed. But you can get spicy with it. You can go like Serpent's Fang into Lichbane. We've already seen Lichbane be a thing for Ahri for a while now. And that would be... Hope has the Adaptive Force Potion popped. He's running down.
My goodness.
Oh, Heru!
He flies onto a trap! He tried to get out through the magical journey, but just ends up dying anyway! That is tragic. And the rest of ThunderTalk are forced to retreat from the bottom side. I think this series is over. AL are ready to wrap this one up.
Absolutely savage, brutal, wrecked is how we would describe ThunderTalk's game now. Who cares about a Serpent's Fang? We're looking at a whole row of teeth here. AL are just snapping down on TT. They're going to get most of these turret plates. They're going to get the second dragon of the game. That is a complete tragedy, and I gotta say, feels like the perfect summary of this series so far.
In similar fashion to last night's series against JDG, where AL struggled quite a bit in the first game, and they are back to business here in games 2 and 3.
This trap was placed so far in advance, I wonder if it just despawned and he placed it again. No! Heru's trying to get out of the Karma Tether, flashes into the trap. Now, I will give him credit. There is a Bard Portal. It is really hard to see in the middle of a team fight while you're trying to avoid all these skill shots and everything to see the Caitlyn trap. But he is also now a pro player, so we should have some level of self-respect. And that one is tough. So, whichever way you want to cut it, he is a rookie player. But that is a game-losing mistake now, because AL are 5,000 gold in the lead.
My goodness. You know what's my cope here, Alk? And it could be
I
a
already did the
fun...
cope. I already did the cope. What is it?
All right, well, so here's my narrative, right?
Okay.
Feather saw the diabolical Realm Warp that Heru did against On in the last game, and he's just paying it forward.
Why is he getting his... He's like, here, On, I'll get you your lick back by losing us the series. By helping us lose the series. I would rather my mid laner Realm Warp me into a bad fight, lose that game, and then win the series, rather than my mid laner ult flash onto a trap and then die and we lose the series anyway. But We'll see. Here's a teleport flank. Olaf, we've been bragging about him from the early game. You gotta do something.
I don't know if Keshi can salvage this one. Tarzan has already thrown Junhao into the wall with a supreme display of talent, and he is forced to flash. Keshi has arrived, pops the ghost.
Oh, God.
But he's running out of time to try and make something happen. Tries to look for Shanks and immediately runs the hell away. Breathe is falling after him, and a quick flash over puts him down. The Viking getting absolutely no mileage in this game 3, and Hope is looking to corral on alongside Tarzan. This just might be a perfect game coming out of AL at this rate.
This is looking, well, it's no longer a perfect game. They got the dragon, so we don't get to have fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A killless game maybe from ThunderTalk, or a deathless game from
all right.
Legend?
Let's call it in. We can't do a prediction because we already did that for who wins the game. But maybe mods can run a poll. Let's do that. Let's see if we can get some chat interaction here.
Okay,
We're 14 minutes in. Do you at home think that TT are going to get a kill? I would say, probability-wise, it is likely that they get at least one. And I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at numbers. I got the stats here. I had my AI, aka my brain, run the numbers, and they told me TT are going to get at least one kill. So I'm going to say that they're going to get at least one. I don't know how you're feeling.
In theory, ThunderTalk should be able to get at least one.
But do you believe it? Do you believe they will get a kill, Raafaa? That is what I asked you.
It does not resolve anyone's legend. Seem
Fair play.
quite locked in at the moment and prone free of any mistakes in the near future.
So then, let me ask you this then. If TT were to get a kill, who do we think it is most likely to be on? Like on AL side, who is the person that is most likely to die from AL?
Well, currently there's no flash on Tarzan or Breathe, so usually those are good targets. Kael is squishy, but also as Karma with this much of a gold lead, gets to be a really deceptively difficult to actually take her down, especially if he uses her mantra tether.
Hearing a whole lot of fence sitting, Raafaa.
All right, I'm gonna say if anyone dies, it's gonna be Breathe.
Okay, here we go. We got a team fight. Maybe this is one.
Heru trying to look for a charm follow-up here. The curtain call does decent damage, but not nearly enough to finish anyone off. And goodbye on. That's a giant bear sitting on top of your face. And for the rest of ThunderTalk, they are taking to the hills. The rest of anyone's legend are going to make short work of this tier 1 in the mid lane.
Top laners are fighting at the same time, and nothing comes of it. And Kael is now even running them down close to their turret. Tarzan's going to look. Oh my! He lands that supreme display of talent. They get that kill, but I think at 9,000 gold at 17 minutes, it's already looking pretty cooked here. So Herald goes into mid, Dragon's up. Objective bounties are available, but TT are going to have none of it. AL are going to close this. Look to close out a game 2 or game 3 win.
There are plenty of objective bounties, not just on turrets, but also on all 5 of the champions that AL are piloting this game. So there's always a silver lining. But I don't believe ThunderTalk aren't going to be getting a bailout this game at all. I think AL were very frustrated by the way they played game 1 and how TT kind of embarrassed them a bit. They tightened things up in game 2. It was still competitive, but this is the AL we came to expect when it was looking at this series before it started. And this is the AL that we want to have contesting the best of the LPL teams when we get to playoffs, as ThunderTalk trying to set up a trap.
Shanks, play with some respect. Karma's also on her way. If you really need some more looks, this Tibbers is just like kind of farming Keshi for damage. He's just kind of standing there and taking it. I'm gonna be a bit shameless, Raafaa. We had graphics made for this show. I want to use them. Shiv them.
Yeah.
Let's get that All Pro talk. There we go. We've got All Pro open to the community yet again. That QR code, or if you use in the Twitch chat !Discord, If you go into the announcements tab, you will see the form. You can sign up, you can fill it out, you can send in your votes. We tally up all the votes, and then you get basically a community-made all-pro ballot made for yourself. Here's that. Okay. Oh, Kael!
Kael caught, and the pillar slows him down, and those Inspire Shields are not going to save you when Heru is flanking on the other side. ThunderTalk get a kill.
There we go. All right, moderators, if you could send the results of the poll so we can see how many people took a part of it. And Raafaa, you didn't believe, but you picked the right person, so that counts.
Yep. Shanks flashing forward with the Proto Belt, gets in range for a 2-man Tibber stun, and Breathe with a TP decides, can we actually follow up on this engage? But if they could just buy time for Hope to take out the mid inhibitor tower, might be enough of a trade worthy of AL's time. As Keshi does respond to the siege in the mid lane, Hope will maybe let the minions finish off the turret here, just barely.
Alright, still 10,000 gold lead. Baron hasn't even spawned, by the way. And I see it coming up off the map right now. They definitely have enough damage to do it. They're even screening the entire top lane wave off, so another turret is going to fall. This game is merely a formality. AL have done just a really great job of suffocating bottom lane, strong river fights, and TT have just made way too many mistakes. And we're coming up on the end of the year, so this will now have been 3 splits that we have seen from almost all of these guys here on ThunderTalk. Keshi and Heru at the very beginning of the year coming in as rookies. Junhao having to be kind of the veteran, kind of the person who has had the most experience outside of a player like Feather. Then they bring in On, and he's been stabilizing for them, but clearly not, I think, the big carry that they would have wanted to have him, at least not in a majority of their games. So it's tough, but this is a very, very inexperienced lineup. So
yeah,
I think giving some grace to them, and the fact that they're 3-7 is still fairly impressive.
Yeah, this is Junhao's sophomore year. He made his debut in Tier 1 on Ultra Prime last year, so not necessarily the most amazing place to be facilitated and cultivated as an upcoming talent. You kind of just have to do it yourself at that point. And credit to Junhao, has found some great performances throughout the year of 2026, and that is why we give him credit, and we always at least have hope that he can deliver another, which he did in Game 1. However, not going to have the same magic this time around, as that's a lot of damage coming out from Shanks.
Got McHale's, so it's a little bit of healing, but definitely not enough at this point. There's another dragon spawning. I feel like AL have their pick of the litter when it comes to choices. You can go start Baron, you can go start Dragon, and either way, TT are forced in this really awful situation where if you walk up to the objective, you die. If you give up the objective, guess what? You're just prolonging the death timer. Eventually, you're going to get ran down, and this team composition is kind of reliant on making picks. You gotta run at your folks, right? Like, we have very rarely seen Olaf get active. This RA champion is basically out of the game at this point, but still has the potential with the charm, with the modifier on the damage, to make things happen. So, TT, you can't lose faith. You're down 10,000 gold. As we said in the last game, hands off the keyboard and let the LPL gods decide your fate.
Aurelion Soul take the wheel. ThunderTalk starting up the dragon here. This would be AL on Soul Point if they manage to yoink it away. Curtain Call for some extra poke damage, trying to slow down AL's approach. Last bullet in the chamber. Temper Fate actually trying to fish for Tarzan, but he comes in and says, thanks for the leash, buddy. Throws out the unleashed talent. And Junhao is temporarily stunned up into the wall. Now Keshi is on the retreat. Q3 punts him back.
Keshi,
Ragnarok finally popped, but just a little too late. Now not going to have any meaningful contribution in this fight. For the rest of the ThunderTalk, they've got to get the hell out of there. Shanks looking for the Tibbers. Does get flashed by multiple members there. As the rest of ThunderTalk make their way back to the base. And Keshi cut off by Tarzan's Kiana.
See, this is why I hate Olaf. And this is not a Keshi exclusive problem, but when Olafs start losing, especially the inexperienced ones, they kind of just like run out and they die anyway, and it's like, well, your champion doesn't really have a back option. You don't get to like leave a fight and not go in. You have to go forward. The only way through, or the only way out is through, and you need to walk forward. And then TT, they're so far behind. They're like, well, we don't have the damage. We still lose the dragon. Kael should just be looking to, you know, close this game out pretty quickly. They already have 3 items, and this is a crit Caitlyn in comparison to her opponent, who has, you know, Oyomu's in an RFC, which is supposed to spike early, but I've explained my disdain for this enough on the show.
Yeah, this is the Mosquito Jin build where you are not gonna be doing anything. These curtain call bullets barely left a dent into even the squishiest members here.
No notes, Raafaa. This game's been cooked for the last, like, 12 minutes. And that's me being generous. This game's been rather cooked for a long time. So we're just waiting for them to serve up the meal of a Nexus.
There are times when we joke about in the LPL where teams have clawed their way back from the jaws of defeat, and sometimes, in AL's case against WE, they clawed themselves back from the jaws of victory. This is not one of those times. We guarantee that, and Shanks will ensure that is not going to be their fate. The flash combo allows Tarzan to reap the rewards, picks up the double, Heru trying to run away as fast as possible, and once again, that Jin Mosquito build ain't doing any damage anytime soon. AL, we'll see if they decide to just look for the Baron instead before continuing the siege, as they are definitely taking their time in closing this game out.
Yep, it's going through the steps. I will also use this time to say, for those who don't know, Quax was originally supposed to be on this series. If anybody caught the original announcement tweet on twitter.com/LPL_English. But Quax did fell ill right before the show, so I'm gonna be on the next series as well. That was my original intended slot. So if anybody in chat is feeling particularly nice, I'm sure that Quax himself would really appreciate you guys sending some well wishes. He was very, very ill right before the show, so hopefully he is doing better. We miss you, bud, and I'm sorry you're not able to cast, although this doesn't seem like the result is much different than maybe we expected.
Hope you're feeling better, buddy. As a couple of our LPLers have fallen ill in the past few days. We know that at least Slayer, hopefully, is recovered well.
He's better, for sure.
Yeah.
I thought, and it was really funny because we're kind of hanging out in another chat room before this, and Quax had been gone for a while. So he comes back into the call, and he's like, hey guys, I'm not feeling very well. Is there anybody that can like take over my shift? And I thought he was joking because we were watching the LNG series and we saw the 800 damage Velvet. So I thought he was just ill because of Weiwei's performance.
No, that was tough. I mean, I was almost sick. Heru immediately deleted by Hope. Keshi with the TP flank tries to run down Hope and just can't get the job done. Ooh. Runs out of gas before he can finish him off. And the rest of anyone's legend refuse to drop. Another death for ThunderTalk to claim. And the last man standing is Junhao, who led them to victory in Game 1, but cannot rally a similar result here in Game 3. Anyone's legend returning to normal form and making business as usual. Okay, well, Shanks is going to die on the fountain. Going to give a freebie over to ThunderTalk and pad Junhao's KDA a little bit more, but the Pandas being able to take down ThunderTalk 2-1 here in our series.
16,000 gold, 18-2. Feels good. I feel good at my prediction, though. I did put in an AL 2-1, so feeling good about that. But I did not expect it to be this one-sided, particularly this Game 3. I feel like TT have had... The through line I've liked from them, especially in Split 3, is that a lot of their drafts feel coherent, They feel like they have good threads and things that you can pull on in game. The performance hasn't just quite been there. And I think we got to see that particularly in games 2 and 3. They did not have the right execution. I feel like Heru was another kind of liability for this team. And we did not actually get to see Keshi play the game in two games out of this series. Like, the Olaf game was invisible, and he almost solo killed Breathe, but that is the most... like, that is the best thing I can say from him, from the game.
Yeah, and once again, it's another game where kind of disappointing to see that ThunderTalk actually drafted decent lane setups and resources and tools for them to use later on in the stages of the game, but kind of refusing to acknowledge a lot of the lane advantages that anyone's legend were generating for themselves and failing to put out those fires before it got to the point that it could no longer be managed, and also opting into fights that they had no business being a part of.
So I've got good news. Real quick, if we could look at our standings, Shivam, it'd be great. ThunderTalk are now, because of this loss, they're not locked for anything. However, EDG can still keep their head above water. The problem is they need to 2-0 every single series from here on out to not lock play-ins. But TT winning a game means that they're -7 in game differential, which isn't great. They should actually be 1-18 right now, or 11-18. So being -7 in game differential is really tough. EDG currently can reach at maximum a -10. So it's not looking good. It is not looking good, and when LGD are your opponents at -4, that is where things start to get very, very tight. And losing series and games like these are what are going to contribute to what is looking like an EDG and ThunderTalk Gaming play-ins arrival.
Still a chance for EDG, but they're going to have to actually start winning some series now. They've at least doubled the amount of game wins with the inclusion of Jeje so far, from 1 to 2, but that is small steps, small potatoes. We need to get some big potato wins now. And for ThunderTalk, definitely a disappointing way to at least show for themselves they had what it takes to be able to match up to anyone's legend at least once in the series, but lacking the consistency to be able to do it twice against the team. Obviously, AL didn't play nearly as well in game 1 compared to the sequential games after, but I think ThunderTalk didn't do themselves any favors to make sure that they could rally with that momentum.
For sure. Player of the game? Likely Tarzan?
Yeah. I could see Shanks, too. I think Shanks had a lot of great initiations on the Annie, too. Breathe wasn't necessarily someone that...
I don't think Breathe is getting it.
Yeah. Breathe didn't get the huge gap in top lane like he did with the Gnar. And this just might be a Tarzan player of the match incoming. We'll see what the LPL broadcast official one decides once we get to it. I mean, the nice thing about Tarzan bringing out the Kiana, I mean, that matchup into the Trundle emerged last year around the same time as well, when Trundle started overtaking the meta, and people were like, well, how do we play into Trundle? Kindred's not really good, even though that is a historical counter, and Trundle just mogs every fighter in the jungle that we have. And then once Kiana popped up with a lot of the cheaper lethality items, that's where the LPL Kiana started going into Worlds, and it was like, wow, no one really plays this except LPL junglers, and it was cool for a while.
Again, like, Olaf has kind of overtaken, and if you're not going to have access to things like Vayne in top lane, especially with Jax gone, I think that it became more and more like, okay, Olaf is a problem, so how are we going to answer it? And the Cassante is a good neutralizer. Like, Cassante just becomes way too tanky for Olaf to burst once he gets, like, his first 2 recalls off, and the game is basically free from there. Like, Breathe almost got solo killed once, and then they both recalled, and we never pan top for the rest of the game. Like, Keshi just did not have near enough of the impact that we would have wanted from this Olaf. And I get it. You wanted to pick Trundle because you don't want to have them pick Trundle into you, especially because we just saw Zweon just completely get bodied in the Cassandra or in the Trundle versus Olaf top lane matchup. So I get it, but it just didn't pan out. Sucks. It happens.
It is what it is. AL fans, at least happy to see Hope put out a respectable Caitlyn performance this time around. We know that, obviously, a lot of the criticism towards Hope throughout the year, we touched on it briefly during the pre-show, is that Hope sometimes, especially for AL fans, can be a liability when he needs to clutch up, and that's where we get, where's AL Elk, where is AL 1xn, or where's AL leave, whatever AD carry replacement they can get instead. But at least Hope can still find performances like this, and it just comes down to tracking how consistent he's going to be for this Pandas roster as they get ready for playoffs and hopefully for them a Worlds run.
It's going to be a really big patch change coming through. The experience and gold changes for roaming supports is really, really big. I think it is something that may go unnoticed to some of our viewers, but that playstyle affects all of our supports. Even if we just get rid of Camille and Shen, it means that supports are more tied to lane, or at least are supposed to be more tied to lane. How long that will mean, I do not know. Maybe we see junglers go back to like spam ganking everybody, and you know, there's so much catch-up experience in camps anyway that you can just kind of do that. I don't know, it'd be fun. I think we're probably going to see a little bit of an adjustment period, especially for teams that are really reliant on jungle support to move into mid. So teams that maybe have stronger or weaker mids might actually find themselves at an advantage. Maybe teams who have stronger mids might not. Maybe it's, hey, let's all roam down to the bottom lane and get our 2 free kills because there's more people in this lane than any other lane in the game.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if marksmen pop up back in mid lane with the MR
Riot hates
buffs.
that. We already know it. We already know Riot hates marksman mids. No one liked watching Zeri mid. Let's just keep it a buck. No one ever really likes watching Corki ever since they got rid of his package, or the Valkyrie package. I like it, but Tristana mid is also equally, like, not incredibly interesting, but because she's not the same, like, I can level 2 all in you and you just die.
You just kind of maintain that pressure and agency for yourself in pro play, and the threat is respected, but then, I get your point. I like marksman mid just because it opens up the jungle pool at the very least, because then if you are at least creating 2 lanes where there are marksman and physical damage, you need AP damage somewhere. And with a lot of the top lane champions not necessarily being AP centric outside of Rumble, then that's when I get hopes up of seeing hopefully things like Nidalee or Lilia. Wow, it is Shanks.
34% of his team's damage. Feels good, man. Also sucks that all the AD mid laners are mostly assassins. And I don't think Riot wants to see assassins in pro play, because assassins are very feast or famine and introduce some play patterns that I think a lot of casual fans don't enjoy. Even though Locke is fun.
Yeah.
Locke is fun and does a lot of BS stuff, but that's it for our series. I know we're going to have player of the match coming up soon, but we got another series as well, BLGWE.
Yeah.
Slayer's very excited to have an extremely long night yet again in third shift.
Unfortunately for him, it's going to be a 5:45 a.m. start for the third series. Buddy, I'm hoping that BLG or WE close this one out fast.
You know, we haven't had a 9-game day yet. all split. And it
Slayer,
always happens.
It's not me that is tempting fate. It's this guy, right?
Shivam has been our producer every single show, by the way, has been like, today's going to be a 9-game day. And I'm like, be quiet. Be quiet. But it doesn't happen, okay? So maybe Shivam's cursing it. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe because Shivam wants to see it, maybe the 9-game days don't happen. We were getting really worried the other night. Last week, when WE won their series versus AL, when WE won game 1, Slayer was dreading it. He's like, no, dude, we're going to get a 3-game series. AL are going to bounce back. And then when AL were winning most of game 2, he was like calling the fight, and I could just hear him like, dude, it is 8 a.m. right now. Please let me out. And WE came back, and we were like, oh, all right, we saved the 9-game day.
Okay. I heard all that you said. Yeah. I just got completely perplexed by the fact that even after a Breathe and Shanks separate player of the game, they're still deciding, okay, but it's Tarzan player of the match. I feel like that's just...
Bro, Breathe did nothing this whole series, though. Let's quantify what he did in these games.
You're right.
He's not getting it.
But to me, I thought that Shanks would then just get player of the match because he actually got one of the player of the games, and I felt like his lock was actually more impactful than Tarzan's Lee Sin in game 1. Tarzan was, outside of a good kick and a dragon steal, Tarzan did nothing. He got gapped by Junhao. So it's, I don't know, kind of weird. I guess I would have to look back at Shanks' game 2 because he played Twisted Fate. So maybe they just were like, you know what? He did great on the Annie, but he was invisible in the other 2 games, and they just wanted to give Tarzan a player of the match. I mean, like, I feel like you should have just given Tarzan player of the game in game 3 over Shanks. It's just weird. Maybe I'm alone in that sentiment.
The narrative is too strong. Tarzan now has 5 player of the series.
Yep.
Congratulations.
You know what? This is the LPL broadcast motto to just get Tarzan set up for MVP race against Knight. But that does it for me. Alk still has one more series, and we're going to be bringing in Slayer for our final series of the day. So, for me, goodbye to you all. But for the rest of y'all, stay in tune for more LPL action. See you on the other side of the break.